Alright guys, it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm a little bit drunk and I have a Slayer task for Dagannoth, so let's go kill some Dagannoth Kings. Welcome to Ninjahatchet's Garbage Guides. Today I'm going to be showing you how to solo the Dagannoth Kings. I'm going to be doing this on my Iron Man. If you don't know how to get to Dagannoth Kings, just go ahead and pay attention to where I'm actually going during the video. I'm going to talk about my gear and inventory setup on the way there to save some time, but if you need a guide on how to get there, just kind of pay attention to where I'm going. So, because I'm doing this on my Iron Man, I am kind of doing it with some scrubby gear. But the idea here is these are pretty low-level bosses, so most people can actually do these bosses even with really low-level gear. So I'm wearing full War Priest because I'm going to be tri-breeding with, if you don't know anything about Dagannoth Kings, you have to use the style that they are weak to, or you cannot hit them at all. So you have to bring all three combat styles, mage, range, and melee. So I'm going to be tri-breeding, so I'm using the War Priest of Zamorak, full, with my Slayer helmet. And then on top of that, I have the Amulet of Souls because I'm going to be soul splitting the entire time. And the Amulet of Souls gives a little boost to how much you actually heal from soul splitting. I'm also bringing a Ring of Death and the Penance Aura. Penance Aura is definitely the best aura to use here, just because of how much you're going to be soul splitting and stuff. You're going to be using a lot of prayer. I brought with me 5 prayer pots. I don't even think that I'm going to use any of them. I think with Penance, you pretty much get all your prayer back, but I don't really remember, so we're just going to bring some for backup. And then in my pocket slot, I have the Holy Wrench, which kind of just saves on some prayer. In my inventory, I bring an enhanced Excalibur. Oh, forgot to talk about my weapons. I have a Karasi sword as my main hand and an offhand Drygor. I'm only using the Karasi sword because I don't have a main hand Drygor. It's actually the best melee weapon that I have, which is pretty terrible. So in my inventory, I have an enhanced Excalibur, literally just bringing it for the heals. I have a Charming Imp, which I don't even remember if these things drop charms. I'm assuming they do, but we're going to bring it anyway. I have a Noxious Staff for my Mage switch, which is the only tier 90 that I have, and I have an Attuned Crystal Bow, which is why you'll see I don't have any arrows here. Obviously, if you bring something that needs arrows, don't forget to bring those. I brought fire spells just because the one Dagannoth King that's weak to magic is weak to fire. So it's kind of nice to bring what he's weak to because it gives you a little damage and accuracy boost. I think with the Slayer helmet and the weapons that I have 100% accuracy. I don't ever remember not hitting on these guys, so you should be just fine, even if you just brought air runes. I think that with the damage boost, though, it just kind of helps the soul split to get some health back. I have a yak with me full of sharks. I don't plan on using them, but I bring them just in case. And I brought an extra yak pouch and some winter storage scrolls just to send some shit back to the bank. And then I have 6 doses of the Supreme Overloads because I am going to be going into an instance and I will be staying for the whole hour. I have 254 Dagannoths to kill, so in 2 different 1-hour instances I can usually get that task done. So we're almost there. Let's talk about my bars real quick. So it's a good idea to have your 3 different bars right next to each other so that you can switch in between them pretty quickly. Looks like I ran out of run energy here. So I have my range bar set up here, and these are just basic revolution ability bars. I just have mine set up a certain way. It's not the top DPS way that's suggested by Wiki. It's just what works for me. So this is my range bar, and switching over to my melee bar. Why did I get a golden beam? What the fuck is that? Skeletal boots, sweet. Not picking those up. My melee bar is pretty standard. I gotta switch out a couple of things. I'm gonna want destroy on here, so we'll get that. And my mage bar, same thing. If you've ever watched any of my other videos, it's the exact same mage bar I use for everything else. So you do have to kill some of these Dagannoths in order to start the instance. If you're an Iron Man like me, you have to go in an instance. So I'm just going to go ahead and kill a couple of these Dagannoths so that I can get in here. And now one thing to remember is when you first go into the instance, all 3 Dagannoths are going to be spawned at once. The idea here is to kill them, and then ideally you want to be able to just kill one at a time. So you would kill one and then wait for the next one to spawn, kill another one. But when you first go down, all 3 are going to be spawned at the same time. So let's see if we can get into an instance here. I'm going on fast spawn, not fastest. If you go on fastest, you will end up getting too many of the Dagannoths to spawn at once. My quick prayers should be set to just straight up soul split. And I'm going to go ahead and overload and get started here. It doesn't really matter which one you start with. I already have mage out, so we'll just go ahead and start with the mage one. And it's a good idea right off the get-go, because you have all three attacking you, to go ahead and activate your Enhanced Excalibur here. So I don't use any ultimates while I'm doing these unless I want to play around with Onslaught a little bit. But basically you're only going to be using Threshold. So the idea is to keep your adrenaline above 50% all the time, so that you can just sit here and rotate through thresholds. So we'll kill the first one here. We'll switch over to our melee setup. And I'm very slow at this. But if you have them on bars, you can do that. So with the melee one, I like to slaughter him and walk him, go ahead and destroy. You're actually going to get most of your health back from this guy. The guy who's attacking with mage is actually the one that hits the hardest. So just keep an eye on him. Ideally, I probably should have killed him first, but whatever. Alright, and we'll switch over to range. So you'll see I had to eat a couple of sharks right in the beginning here. As soon as you get all three killed, everything becomes much, much easier, and you should be able to sustain yourself with pretty much little to no food at all. So we're going to go ahead and try to kill this guy before the first Dagannoth spawns back. So the next one that's going to spawn is going to be the mage one, because he was the first one that I killed, at least the one that you use mage to kill. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to my Noxious Staff and go back to mage. Adren stall a little bit, and because I'm over 70 or over 50% adren, we're just going to sit here and threshold this guy out. So now that I have all three killed and I'm just going in between the couple as they spawn, now pretty much soul split should sustain me completely. I shouldn't have to worry about eating too much. If I do get low on health, then realistically I can just use the Enhanced Excalibur to bring me back. Don't get me wrong, there is going to be times maybe where you will need to use some food, but they also, the reason I bring sharks here is because they do drop sharks. So I always find that it's best to bring, if a monster drops something as food, if you bring that as food, it's already on your hotbar, and it's just something that you're used to. So once again, the melee, this guy, the guy you kill with melee shows up. I like to slaughter and walk him, then use destroy, and then use assault, and he's pretty much dead. Next guy spawns, I'm going to switch to range, and rapid fire, snapshot, and bombardment. Like I said, this is the guy that hits the hardest. If you find that it's better to switch to mage prey against this guy, feel free. I just have never had any real problems soul splitting. This is the guy that will take the most of your health away. So as soon as this guy dies, you will gain quite a bit of health back from the other two just from soul splitting, because those ones seem to hit a lot less, and you can hit them a lot harder and faster. Let's see what I got here. Earth Talismans. The next one is mage, not melee. So let's go ahead and get some hits in on this guy and get some health back. One nice thing about the War Priest too is sometimes you do get lucky and it will block some hits for you, so that's kind of nice. I forgot to activate my aura, so it's probably a good idea. I just realized my prayer is super low. That's why it's always a good idea for me to bring extra prayer. But now that my penance aura is up, we should have no problem. You can see we're taking plenty of damage to sustain the penance aura. So once again, we're going to slaughter and walk this guy. We're going to use destroy. This guy is actually one that you really gain a lot of health back, especially if you were to have dual Drygors. You would do really well against him. And I'm going to use assault, which will pretty much get him pretty close. One thing I forgot to talk about, you can debilitate this guy, this one that attacks with mage. You can see that he definitely does hit the hardest here. So debilitate is not going to hurt against him at all. Probably a good idea, actually. And we're almost ready to use our Enhanced Excalibur again. That'll get us back up to pretty close to full health. So once you get to this point where you're just literally just rotating in between the three different Dagannoth Kings, it's pretty simple at this point. Obviously I didn't switch my bar there fast enough, so my Revolution activated Surge. But at this point, now you're just going to sit here and try to remember the order that you kill them in so you can just switch up and be ready for when they come. From this point on, Soul Split is pretty much going to bring you back to full. So I can stay here the whole hour with penance, no problem. You can see my prayer is staying pretty much at full. And if you don't have penance available, what do we got? A Berserker Ring. If you don't have penance available, I highly suggest bringing the Bone Crusher and Demon Horn with you, because that's going to actually, you kill these things fast enough that that's actually going to save you a bunch of prayer. You should bring some prayer renewals and prayer pots, though, if you don't have penance. You can use something like Vampirism if you want. I don't really suggest an accuracy aura here, because basically you have 100% accuracy, and you're only using the one style for 33% of the time. So awesome. I think that's pretty much it. These guys are pretty simple to kill. The only drops they really have are the 3 rings that they can drop and the Dragon Hatchet. They also have some talisman drops that are pretty good. I think you get a lot of air talismans and earth talismans from them. But so that's it for me, guys. If you guys have any questions, PM me in game. My RSN is Ninjahatchet, or like right now, I'm usually on my Iron Man at the Chat Ninja. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope you learned something.